Welcome to Chuck Morse Speaks Special Edition. This is your host, Chuck Morse. I'd like to welcome aboard Gary Galonek. Gary, how are you? Principal of National Sales Manager of Gaming at All-Star Incentive Marketing.
Good, Chuck. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Let me just do a quick intro here. After 4 years as an account manager at NCR Corporation, Gary joined the family-owned and operated All-Star Premium Products, later renamed Incentive Marketing, in 1990. After managing many high-profile accounts such as Dunkin' Donuts, Gary began working with Foxwoods Resort Casinos in the mid-1990s and was instrumental in the early days of their Wampum Rewards program, the largest in the country of its kind and at the time. He oversaw All-Star's growth over the next 15 years to include gaming clients from coast to coast in over a dozen gaming jurisdictions, providing everything from event and promotions, award sourcing to full-blown patron loyalty programs. All-Star's current clients include Mohegan Sun, Turning Stone, Chickasaw Nation, Empire City at Yonkers Raceway, and many more. Gary, thanks for joining me this afternoon.
My pleasure. First of all, going to a casino is a social activity for most folks, and the more things that you can provide in the casino that are not gaming related, some people just want to be in an environment other than their normal environment, and if that's a casino, and there's a Cirque du Soleil show. I mean, MGM has the exclusive rights in the casino world for providing Cirque shows. Well, it might cost $100 a ticket, but at least when you've left, you've seen a Cirque show, or you've eaten at a Bobby Flay restaurant, or you've been to a spa, you've got a massage. So there's a takeaway, a tangible takeaway from leaving, win or lose, if you're there to do more than gamble. So that's why.
And a good example of that, and I would hope that these new casinos would reflect it, is Foxwoods, in that it is a really fun place to go. I mean, every hour there's this Indian exhibit where they do this natural thing with the water, and there's a big circle and there's gigantic Indian statue. There's a museum there for the Pequots that's very, very well done. And there's fun stuff to do. It's kind of a neat place.
No, and I mean that's where a loyalty marketing company, such as All-Star, comes into play. I mean,
right.
To your point, every hour on the hour on a weekend, there's usually a promotion, and must be present to win, and giving away TVs and cars, and people are earning points based on their play, how much they play, how often, and whatnot, and those points can be spent like currency on both casino offerings, the food, the beverage, the hotels, and then out of casino offerings such as a loyalty program where, okay, it's Billy's birthday, I'm going to get him a Callaway golf putter, so I'm going to use my points that I've earned, my rewards points, and again, it's something tangible that I can take away other than a win or a loss.
So this is how the loyalty programs work then, and I think in Foxwoods they call it Wampum, right?
They did, and it was a little too esoteric for them, so they got away from Wampum, and it's simply rewards now.
Okay.
But yeah, when we started back in the mid '90s, it was the Wampum Rewards program, and then when they brought the MGM partnership on board, which wasn't really a partnership other than name only for their new hotel tower, they changed the rewards program to Dream Rewards. Now I think they're eventually phasing themselves out of that MGM affiliation, and they just went to simply rewards, Foxwoods Rewards. But yeah, most clubs have a hook. It's the destination shop, it's the Trump One Exchange. It's we're involved in a number of them, and they all try to brand them differently.
And the rewards, basically, what it is it's essentially an internal form of money, that you're getting these coupons that you can then use to do stuff at the site. Besides,
well, it's not coupons really. They call it they rate your play, and the only way they can rate your play is if you opt in by going to a Players Club booth and getting a rewards card. I think as much as 85% of all play now is rated, whereas when these programs first came on board, some people were reluctant. They didn't see the benefit in being in the club. They didn't want, Uncle Sam to know maybe
right.
if they were winning or losing. Now people have come to realize that it's an adjunct to the whole experience, and you're literally throwing money away by not being in the club and getting the points, and then using those points in a myriad of ways.
It might actually lessen the possibility if you're losing, because these are incentives based upon usage as opposed to winning or losing. Is that right?
I like to refer to us as kind of like, the Robin Hoods. We steal from the rich and we give to the poor. But fortunately, these programs took off to the point where no casino will risk being the place that doesn't offer the rewards program. So
right.
And I don't care if you're in a riverboat casino in Missouri, if you're on the Las Vegas Strip, if you're out in Indian country, in Oklahoma, there's a loyalty program.
Now, your organization actually patented this whole idea, and you're involved in implementing these programs all around the United States at this point. Is that true?
Well, patent didn't really patent the idea. I think we
popularized it.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I think we're one of we exhibit at the Global Gaming Exposition in Las Vegas. They call it G2E. It's the biggest gaming trade show in the world, and there may be 27 different chip manufacturers or people who provide the chairs or the felt, but in our world of turnkey incentive and loyalty programs, there's 3 or 4 of us that do the whole shoot and match. And we're right here in Mass with 60,000 square foot warehouse. We factory direct source all of our awards. We warehouse and drop ship right here. We handle all the customer service here. All the marketing communication strategies emanate from here. So, yeah, we're one of the few shops in the country that you can, and certainly one of the first that really targeted the industry. And I have to give Foxwoods credit for that. Everybody wanted to emulate them back in the mid '90s. So it was an easy door opener. All you had to do is say, "Yeah, I handle the Wampum Rewards program," and they're like, "Hey, when can you come in?"
No, I bet. So what it is basically is that it's almost like a Sears Roebuck catalog. Is that right? I mean, you can get stuff if you turn in your wampum or your awards coupons.
More like a green stamps for those really
right.
old timers that where you go to the gas station, you get the stamps, and the stamps build towards a gift. It's certainly not everything we do, and not everything we do is directed at patrons. For example, most companies in the incentive and award business will have service award programs they offer. So, you're at a company 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Back in the day, you got the watch and a pat on the back. Now people expect a little more, so maybe you get the 10-year pin, but you get a catalog, whether it's physical or web-based, to go pick your 10-year gift. That's where a company like All-Star comes into play. Or you have a safety recognition program. We happen to run the largest safety recognition program in the waste business for Allied Waste Republic, where 35,000 safety-sensitive employees, mostly garbage truck drivers, quite frankly, are getting points every quarter they go without an incident. And, they shop those points.
I admire their work. I mean, that's a tough job. And basically what this is it's like a little extra value to a day's work. It's you can then get various things in the catalog and have them shipped to you, and that you guys have a warehouse where you handle these orders. I mean, that's a tremendous service.
It is, and if I asked you, Chuck, if I said to you, you did a great job, I want to give you $1,000, or I want to give you $1,000 worth of merchandise, you, like most people, would say, "I'll take the $1,000, thanks." And
right.
But you put it in your gas tank. You might have bought a meal with it. You might have put some in the bank. Most people don't remember what they did with the cash. By forcing them to use those points or that gift, whatever reason they earned it, for tangible rewards. Let's say that's $1,000 that goes to a set of golf clubs, and you're a weekend warrior golfer. Every time you open your trunk and pull those clubs out, there's a flash of where you got. Nobody forgets. I don't care if it's a clock radio. Nobody forgets where they got something for free or as an award. So that's the reason this whole industry basically exists, is because tangible rewards are more effective than cash in terms of long-term recognition and appreciation.
Gary, do you work with companies other than gaming companies?
Yeah, well, I just mentioned a couple, Allied Waste Republic,
right, there you go.
And certainly financial service companies. We have a very large online trading company that rewards new deposit accounts with gifts. There's the term tchotchke, which relates to logoed pens and mugs and things of that nature. We certainly have a number of accounts that source those. We have a division that does that as well. So yeah, I would say probably about 50% of our revenue right now is casino generated, but it's not. My dad founded the company. My two brothers and I run it for the most part, and when he founded the company, he certainly had no inkling that we'd ever be selling casinos. He was a manufacturer's rep and was trying to put together deals. Back in the day, it was go to the grocery store in January and get the letter A in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and the continuity programs as they were known with banks. That used to be huge until they were regulated out.
Right.
So,
I think that business people listening to this might find it interesting, and I am finding it interesting simply as the host of a radio program that just last week has become nationally syndicated.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you very much. And by the way, that could, I could offer gifts to callers, like as I remember Jerry. Do you remember the late Jerry Williams?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I consider Jerry to have been my mentor, and I'm proud to say I brought him on the air during the final months of his life. And he would give away. Oh yeah, absolutely, great man. He would give away coffee mugs. He'd give away all kinds of things with funny sayings on them and various. We're talking, as you say, tchotchkes. I mean, small level things. But it was interesting. Yeah, you bet. I mean, people would, it really drew people in. It drew listeners in. It's the kind of thing that if you got one of these things, you never forgot it. I mean, and plus it's actually a collector's item because it's limited. If it's X number issued, then that takes on value in the same way that the old G.I. Joe dolls back in the 1960s are now worth, $1,000 because there's just so many of them.
Well, G.I. Joe would be mostly a retail item, but the eBay is flooded with old gas station giveaways, replica trucks, and vintage cars and things of that nature. No, it's been around. The industry's been around for a long time, but interestingly enough, 20 years ago, you'd say, "Oh yeah, I work with incentive and award company," and they'd be like, "What is that?" And you'd have to explain it, and they'd see that same person a year later, and they'd say, "So what is it All-Star exactly does again?" Now, I think the average household of 4 people, husband, wife, and 2 children, I think the last number I heard was involved in 14 loyalty programs, which means long-distance phone, frequent flyer, credit card. I mean, you get granular right down to the vodka you like to drink. I mean, everybody, whether they realize it or not, is become attuned to being rewarded for their patronage, whether it's a brand, whether it's a casino.
I mean, it's become very much part of the fabric of everyday life. I know that credit cards now are into it. You get points put on your credit card. I believe a while ago there was one that you could bring it to certain restaurants on a list and get, half off or whatever. So
I use my own Amex points to buy. I have a kid in D.C. and another one in New York, and I'll buy a Ruby Tuesdays or Olive Garden gift
Sure.
card and pop it in the mail, and they think it's great, and
You bet.
it makes me feel good about being an Amex customer.
Yeah. I mean, what in the present atmosphere would you consider, Gary, to constitute a loyalty program that would really catch somebody's eye, that relates to what people are doing today?
Well, it depends what industry you're talking about. In the gaming industry, the one that's the most copied and emulated is Total Rewards, which was a Caesars Harrah's initiative that really took off, and it forced other companies to look at what they were offering. So, the MGM properties, of which you mentioned New York, where you stayed, the Bellagio, and so on and so forth. There's 9 on the Strip. They have M Life, and so each major gaming institution has a loyalty program. I think Total Rewards is still kind of the leader in terms of the breadth of the offerings, the things you can use with your points, both on property and partnerships they've forged outside of the gaming entities. And in credit cards, American Express Rewards. I mean, I feel like a little kid. I just got my 2013 rewards guide in the mail, and
wow.
And I don't know if you're an Amex card holder. This is it's incredibly well done. It's everything from restaurants to travel to tangible rewards, and so there's a lot of good examples out there.
No, I mean it's the kind of thing like every day is Christmas.
If you've got the points, yeah.
Yeah, you bet. And in a sense, it makes sense from a personal business standpoint, in that there are a lot of things that one does in the course of a day or a week that they could incentivize if they structure it properly, if they work with certain companies and make sure that they get. It's just like an added bonus. It's like having your employer give you an extra perk in your paycheck, in a sense.
No, and I mean, you're right. And the Site Foundation, which is one of our industry research groups, says that incentive programs aimed at individuals increase performance by 27%. So that's a pretty big number, and it begs the question: why wouldn't you have one?
Right.
If they're that successful. So I think that the trick, like with anything, once you get further along the life cycle, is to keep it fresh and keep adding new wrinkles.
Right, and
so that they don't become same old.
And to in a sense not look into this is like leaving money on the table, because it's something that would occur almost automatically as a result of things that one does every day, and so it's kind of, just from a consumer standpoint, I would think that people might look into and that aspect of what they do. What about online legal gambling at this point, legal gaming? How is that going to affect you? How does it affect the industry that you're in?
Well, that's real interesting and obviously very topical. Nevada passed it, and New Jersey, Chris Christie signed a bill, but then it was appealed at the state level, so that remains a little murky how it's going to work. The general thinking is that the brick and mortars casinos in this country, especially the ones with a multitude of locations like the MGM World, like the Caesars World, will be the ones that control the online gaming. And
right.
Heretofore, online gaming, at least the legal ones, don't offer cash rewards. But most of these properties, and even a lot of the smaller ones, I mean, Larry Flint has a card room in L.A. It's called Hustler Casino, and they have an online poker site that's for amusement only. The old betting card,
right?
For amusement only. But what it really is a breeding ground for the time when online gaming for cash is legal. They'll already have a built-in audience, and how it affects us. you're still going to have to reward that play. So whether it's in a bricks and mortar location or in the virtual world, you're still going to need to attract people to that site, and one of the ways to do that is the Players Club scenario and earning points based on your play. In the casino world, they call it coin in. And then, you're not really supposed to know the formula, but I know, for example, at Foxwoods, you get a point for $80 of coin in. That's not $80 lost. I mean, you could go there with a $200 budget, and you could play a slot machine, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot ball, but $5 a hand blackjack. You could play that for 6 hours, and you might leave with $180. Maybe you only lost 20, but the coin in, is a multiple of how many bets you actually made during that time. So let's just say that you recycled that money 20 times, 200, 4,000. Divide that by 80, and that's basically how many points you earned. So there will be a methodology similar to that in the online world that will award points, and hopefully we'll be the company that in many cases says, okay, sure, they earned some points on the Caesars poker site. Now they can go spend them at Caesars, but maybe they can also spend them in a web-based catalog for fishing poles and Blu-ray DVD players.
You bet. I mean, in a sense, it gets into, as we were talking about earlier, usage as the primary factor in not whether or not you win or lose. I mean, and even in a sense, if you are losing, or if you walk out with less than you walked in with, you could walk out with still a package of points that will give you rewards. So
right, and that's whether you're sitting at home, playing online or making the trip. So it remains to be seen. It's going to be, there probably will be some federal legislation at some point. The states want to keep control over it. And that battle will go on for a while. And
right, I remember. I think we called Jerry Williams. Speaking of whom, he was championing the idea of a national lottery as a way to actually pay down the national debt. Not that it would be that lucrative, but that he was calling for this, and with the funds earmarked specifically toward reducing the national deficit, which of course was not as big a problem back then as it is now, but it's been around forever.
Yeah, well,
I thought that was interesting.
It is. I mean, Powerball is proof that it would work. How many states?
Yep.
How many states is that now? 15. I don't even know. But I mean, I know that certainly people are drawn to mega rewards, and some people call it taxation by stupidity. But it would work.
It would, and especially since 50% at least of the revenues would go toward the state, or in this case toward the federal government, to reduce the deficit, and the other 50 or whatever would go to the winner, or the winner.
Yeah, it's the 50-50 raffle on steroids, but we've all been at local fundraisers, and that's whether it's the sticks or the wheel or I live on a lake
having bingo in the basement. In a sense.
Right. I live on a lake, and we have a 50-50 raffle on when this giant meatball is going to fall through the ice into the water. So.
So people bet on just about anything.
That's it.
Gary, what is the difference between, and I mean this both culturally and literally, between the Vegas casinos, the Vegas scene, as it were, and here in Massachusetts or here in New England, and what is the difference specifically with regard to incentive programs?
Well, culturally, I mean, Las Vegas is a fantasy, for a lot of people, and you don't have to be, a gambler to fantasize about going to Las Vegas. I mean, look at the way it's been portrayed in movies, The Hangover and whatnot. It's just it's taken on a life of its own.
It has a mystique.
Right, it is a mystique, and that's a good word for it. That Massachusetts is not going to have that kind of allure with its gaming. It's going to be catering to a regional crowd. I don't I mean, they can call them destination resort casinos, but they're not drawing on the same, you can draw a 50-mile circle around wherever these three end up, and 90% of your play is going to come from within that 50-mile radius. So,
but you're not going to have the Rat Pack, and you're not going to have the whole Sinatra and Joey Bishop and just, this kind of cultural thing going on here in Palmer.
Which isn't to say that Massachusetts itself doesn't have allure. I mean, there's a reason, we're attracting more and more filmmaking. And, Ben Affleck's stock is rising pretty fast. And now, obviously, you got The Departed, you've got Shutter Island, you've got The Town, you've got, Jeremy Renner and the guy who just won the Oscar, the David O. Russell,
right?
Who Silver Linings Playbook. He's back in town filming another movie. So I think there certainly is some appeal to, okay, we came to Boston because it's a cool city. We're going to we're going to Fenway. We're going to go to the North End, and we're going to go to the casino. It might give people a reason to stick around an extra day, but I don't think no one's flying from Nevada to Boston to go to our casino.
Right.
Whereas
I
people
get
from Boston
that,
are flying to
But there are ways to make it a part of the regional fabric that which does draw people here. People come to Boston for the history. They come here to go to college for sure. And they come here for the a lot of various reasons. And I think that the casino could become a part of that fabric.
It's going to take a while to spin it, in the vein of a Concord or an old Sturbridge Village,
right.
Which is more institutional type, iconic Massachusetts, more New England things. But yeah, if done properly, I think it will. And you actually mentioned another good point. With the fact that this is a state that's probably second to none in terms of higher education, you've got to be real careful with underage gambling, and that's a time in kids' lives when they are prone to some sort of addiction, and there's a lot of college students that are 21, so
right.
putting
so that's
a casino.
That has to be addressed. I mean, I would think.
It is. Palmer's only a half-hour ride to UMass. So.
Yeah, right. What? How has the economic slowdown affected business, and do you see an end to that?
Our business specifically?
Yes.
It's interesting. Sometimes companies, when it's things are tough, they'll get more creative and they'll try more promotions. And when they do that, a company like All-Star is going to be the one they're going to go to. So we don't have the giant peaks and valleys that you see in kind of so-called real-world scenario.
Right.
We've knock on wood just had a steady growth. I mean, we went from 6 people in the late 80s to about 56 now, and our revenue has only taken one minor dip in the last decade from year to year. So fortunately, we're not. Now, the gaming side, the reason we've maintained a steady growth in the gaming side is not because any one of our individual properties is doing so well, because they're not. It's just that we keep adding them. So, I mean, we're in Atlantic City, we're out in the Midwest, we're in the Southeast. We've got clients up and down, the Eastern Seaboard and whatnot. So we've added, we've maintained by adding accounts. And to your point, when hopefully the economy does turn around, I think we'll be in a really good position to watch some of our clients' performance improve, and thereby, ours will. But
plus, I think the other factor that should be mentioned regarding your business is that there is a barter aspect to it, and that seems to have its own economic force. it seems to do either well or not well, regardless of where the more general economy is going, and that's because people have a need to do this, to barter, to get extra services. So, that probably serves as somewhat of a buffer, I would think, for generally the barter industry.
Yeah, and sometimes it's more cost effective to give away something of tangible value that maybe the perception is it's worth more than you paid for it. So, go back to the $1,000 example. If I'm going to give you a $1,000 bonus, I can't give you $900 and pretend it's $1,000. But if I'm going to give you a TV that, 65-inch, LCD TV with all the bells and whistles that may be, a $9.99 retail item, you might pay $800 for it. So, in some respects, you can get more bang for your buck with the perceived value of these giveaways versus just trying to buy the business.
Gary, how do you expand your business? Is it by basically doing sales connections, or do you advertise? Do you promote? For example, have you done any radio promotions or anything like that? Very little.
We at least in Massachusetts, is a very finite amount of people that we target, and we certainly like to think we know who they are. Every now and then we'll have a pleasant surprise. But I'd say for the most part, trade shows. I mean, my brother Brian is very in tune with safety recognition programs, so they go to the American Society of Safety Employees show, and we exhibit there. I mentioned the Global Gaming Exposition. I'll be at the East Coast Gaming Congress in May in Atlantic City. We go to the New England gaming shows. Every region of the country has a regional gaming show. So we do a lot of trade show attending, and certainly a lot of word of mouth. And in the gaming world, one of the greatest things that's happened to us is that as gaming has expanded across the country, I think we're going on 580 casinos now. Mm-hmm. A lot of the talent moves around because they have to lure them from the likes of a Foxwoods or an MGM or a Mohegan Sun, and all of a sudden the phone will ring, and our friend from Foxwoods will be out in the Midwest at a tribal property, and they don't want to mess around and go. They want to stick with what worked for them in the past. So we'll get a lot of folks that move on and just bring us in, and that's wonderful. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would think that would be the main way to go for you in terms of people looking at the successes you've had, starting with Foxwoods and the others, and wanting to emulate it in a sense that it's particularly targeted to their and tailored to their own business, and so that creates a buzz.
Yeah, no, I mean, believe me, there's a casino in the prison town of Boonville, Missouri, and I've been to it. And you need to offer those folks a little something different than you do in Philadelphia or Las Vegas, for that matter. So you do have to be creative, and it's not really a cookie cutter thing, but certainly there are tried and true things. If you do an orchid giveaway on Mother's Day, I don't care where the casino is, it's going to be a big hit. But a fishing pole might not go as well in Empire City at Yonkers Raceway, where there's nowhere to fish.
Sure. No, I get that.
Versus, out in the Lakes region in New York. So that's where the marketing side. I mean, I was a marketing major, UMass grad, and that's where we like to put on that hat and try to get, know the demographic of the property, and certainly we're Massachusetts natives, born and bred and never left. So we'd like to think we'd be in a great position to help, and we already have actually. I mean, I was asked to go out on Mohegan Sun's behalf last year to a small business forum at the Mass Mutual Center, where they brought in a bunch of small businesses, and they had myself, they had the purchasing director from Mohegan Sun, they had a Connecticut Chamber of Commerce guy, and we basically fielded questions from the Springfield area business folks, and I told them the one thing they wanted to hear about Mohegan Sun. I said, we've been working with them for 15 years. They pay their bills. Net 30 means net 30, not net I'll pay you whenever I feel like it, and then you have a big chuckle. But these people needed to see somebody locally that works with casinos, because let's face it, there's not a lot of us. So we've tried to put ourselves out there, certainly where we already have a relationship, like Mohegan Sun, like Foxwoods, like MGM. I actually don't do business right now with Wynn, not for lack of trying, but he's got his Vegas connections, and we're not going to go over to Macau and ship. So I haven't. I selfishly hope he doesn't get the bid, because we do know some folks at Caesars. But whoever it is, we like our chances being.
Have you done any business with Sheldon Adelson?
At Sands, not direct. Well, yeah, with his Bethlehem, Pennsylvania property. And there's another class.
The only thing I know about him is from politics.
Yeah,
but I've
he
heard
spends
that
his money.
Yes, but he's definitely a casino guy.
He is.
Gary Galonek,
he's a Massachusetts resident.
Yeah, you bet. From Dorchester. I think he's from Dorchester. We've reached pretty much the end of the program. Please let us know where you can be reached, websites, any pertinent information.
Well, our website is www.incentiveusa.com. Being one of the principals and founders, I'm simply Gary at incentiveusa.com. And that's it. Our marketing communications team did a great job updating our website. We won, the Galonek family won a small business, Worcester Magazine Small Business Family Business Award. Right. And there's a video that they did, which was presented last year out at Cyprian Keys in Boylston, that's on our website as well. And that tells kind of the story. So, yeah, have at it.
Excellent. Well, Gary, I want to thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Chuck, thank you. It was great.
All right. Thanks so much. Gary Galonek, he's the Principal and National Sales Manager Gaming at All-Star Incentive Marketing. You're listening to Chuck Morse Speaks Special Edition. Have a good afternoon, everybody.